Rhythm Phoenix, coming at you with the knowledge and the wisdom and the understanding of life, soul, just a lot of things. Please understand that I have my kids here, so I might get interrupted because that's how stuff works. But I'm trying to start to begin to continue this talking about spiritual and hidden things, philosophy, and the likes, Hermetic philosophy in particular, and just a lot of things. As much as I can. I've had many setbacks in the past couple months, so you have not been seeing me record a lot, but it's really about life's experiences and, you know, just gaining mad knowledge. I've had so many epiphanies and so many spiritual wake-ups that it's like people say they woke and shit. That ain't nothing but a Twitter tag. I don't know, but this is the real awakened phase that I'm in, and I've been dealing with it since before 2012, since before 2010. I've been dealing with this since before 2004, I began dealing with knowledge of just all this stuff around the age of 19 when I was living in Athens, Georgia, and I came across Malachi Z. York's scrolls, books, tapes, and then it continued on from there. To today, and that's a whole story, with my background on gaining this knowledge that I want to share with y'all, because it's an everyday thing. I wake up every day and there's something new. It's beautiful, man. It's like it keeps me going. So just a couple of things. I moved to Chesapeake, Virginia now, so now I'm in Chesapeake, me and my family. We are closer to the waters. We are closer to the AR East Center, the Edgar Casey Center in Virginia Beach, which is great. And we're just closer to more things that suit our way of life, or the way that we want to live anyway, you know what I mean? But I'm making this video real quick. I only have a 5-minute limit, so it'll be in parts. But I might be able to conjoin them together. So if I do that, ignore what I just said, and if not, just be aware. I made a little list, try to get through them as quick as possibly can, and then I want to read what's being shown on the screen here. This comes from the book The Virgin of the World, and it is I got the ebook of this because the print, I don't even think they print in the book, and it's very hard to find. And it's an amazing book. I mean, the book, I have it right here in PDF form. But I'm only in the intro section of the book, so it's just an amazing thing. Now, I wanted to talk about my new studies on Oriental philosophy and how that relates to the connection with the ancient primordial understanding of utilizing the pole star as the only begotten son and the god of the world in the beginning phases of time, during the pre-dynastic times of ancient Kemet or Egypt. And that star, for example, Polaris, okay, which would be our pole star today, was symbolized as the god of all those. He was the father god. It was the father god, basically. The father god was the son of the mother, who was actually the mother of all the gods and goddesses, you see. And this goes way back to before the ancient Sumerian text of the Enuma Elish, because ancient Kemet had this information. We'll say this: Robert Schoch, has a book called The Forgotten Civilization. He talks about how the Sphinx, it can be at least 75,000 years old, you see. And so you take that and then understand that the face or the head might have been changed, all right? And then today we have what we have, but back then the ancient philosophy, spiritual philosophy, just ancient talks on spirit was popping back then, you know what I mean? So it's amazing that today we have just remnants of it, all right? Part 1 is about to clock out here, so I'm going to begin with part 2. So back to what I was saying about the Oriental philosophy. See, the the scholarlistic work to go to on that is it would be the author by the name of Henry Corbin, okay, who is a amazing um, writer when it comes to studying ancient Iranian Sufism, or just plain just Sufism, spiritual Sufism, and their way of life, their way of understanding the spirit and the soul and things like that. Um, and see, what I'm trying to say is that all these things can be found in the system known today as the Kabbalah or the Kabbalah system, which the uh, quote unquote Hebrews or the Jews or the Israelites, priests of the ancient times, claimed as their own. You see what I'm saying? Meaning that it was not a part of Egypt, it was not a part of Sumeria or this or that or China or whatever, or the South America, which is just completely false. It is just that under that phase or phrase known as Kabbalah, spelled in different ways, the system of oral tradition and the spiritual understandings of life and just continuous just knowledge of life and the wisdom of pre-existence, just all these things existed way before anything known as the Kabbalah existed. Okay, so you can't don't let nobody ever tell you that the Jews or the Hebrew Israelites are the ones who created the Kabbalah system. That's extremely false. So what I was saying is this Oriental philosophy is in relation to the Kabbalah system, and it's the whole system is all right. The whole system is known as the body of Adam Kadmon, all right, which is the macrocosm. Adam Kadmon, you are the Adam Kadmon microcosm, all right. Everyone on the planet is a microcosmic universe. You know what I mean? And the universe is the actual form of spiritual intelligence, if we may say so. The soul, it seems to my understanding, after doing massive amounts of work, of research, the soul seems to be the sole being of intelligence that's able to experience it in time and in no time, meaning here in the now in this physical reality, and then within your own self, within your own visual world, which is really called today the imagination. But it's not the imagination in some, like Henry Corbin say, some some fantasy shit, you know what I mean? Some Twilight Zone fantasy shit. Is more on the level of soul perception within oneself, and the level of their perception pertaining to their level of knowledge and wisdom, and their subtle body's capacity to experience particular spiritual experiences. These spiritual experiences are basically the mother, father of all religions, of all doctrinated spiritual systems. You see what I mean? All these things, they all connect, you see? And so what I have been able to do, and I'm only human, you know what I mean? I make mistakes. I am a soul in this physical body. That must be what the definition of human is. It must be meant to be. I don't know, but I'm here. We living. All I know is that I want this knowledge. I love this knowledge. It's the most amazing thing to me. Is I rather get some type of knowledge that's amazing, wisdom or whatever, than look at the most amazing building, material shit. You know what I mean? I'd rather look at some beautiful land than say, oh, this is a beautiful building. Because that's focusing too much on the material shit. what does that physical building represent in the first place, you know? The physical building is representative of some businesses, some corporation, some bank system, or somebody's power, right? Shaped in the symbol of a phallus. You see, I mean, a raised penis or a raised erection, which is in connection to the word resurrection. You know what I mean? And this goes all the way back to the ancient primordial worship of Shiva. One of their symbols that they utilized for Shiva worship was the phallus. That was Shiva, right? And the symbol for Chokmah in the Kabbalah sphere, or in the Kabbalah tree, which would be the second sphere or second Sephirah, is the sphere of wisdom, and the symbol that is utilized for that is the stars circling inside the sphere with a stone, a pillar in the middle. You know what I mean? Also representative of Peter as well. That's where the Apostle Peter now, okay? And that's where we get people calling penises Peter. You know what I mean? People calling penises Peter and shit. So there's another connection. And the word dick, which is in reference, which is also akin to the word deck, which is also the number 10, is symbology of the god Shiva, or God in general as well, because that's what Shiva is. And this is the phallus as well. So we got the phallus worship mixed in the religion systems of the world today. The primordial religion, the primordial religious systems in the world today. But what I'm saying is that pillar is the obelisk of ancient Egypt, of Washington D.C.'s great monument. Okay, it is called the Tekhanu. All right, in ancient Kemet, the land of Anu. Okay, and remember that word Anu is in the Sumerian tablets. All right, or the Sumerian text. Okay, Anu being the father of the gods, but that's a whole nother talk. So, excuse me, and I haven't even talked about the two pillars on the side of the Kabbalah tree in reference with the middle pillar, because the middle pillar is the key to a lot of the shit. Because you know why? See, the middle pillar is where the soul resides, or the symbol that represents the soul in the Kabbalah tree known as Tifereth resides. Below that, and this is symbolized as the sun. Okay, below that is Yesud, symbolized as the moon, and below that is the earth realm, representative as the kingdom of Malkut. Now, the kingdom of Malkut could represent the earth, all right, but it also represents the moon as well. There's a misconception that's going on, but Yesud basically is what trickles down the workings of Malkut. Without the trickling, without the light, without the radiance of Yesud, which represents the life forms or the light rays in the moon, as representing souls, all right, filling the dark side of the moon up and then being birthed through this earthly material existence, like the milk of the heavens. That's what the soul is, the milk of the heavens. You see what I'm saying? The cow is the mother that produces the milk. You know what I'm saying? That symbology, that rule. Remember that Hathor. That's a whole other thing, because that's dealing with the feminine aspect of the Kabbalah spiritual system, and understand that the feminine aspect is on the one of the pillars of the Kabbalah tree known as Bina. Okay, and Bina, according to the Kabbalists, represents the fallen Malkut, which they reference to Earth. All right, or we can just say that Earth is the kingdom of Malkut. Okay, Malkut and Yesud, which represents the moon. There's a connection there. All right, another 5 minutes is about to go up, but there's a connection there. So Study that stuff, because that is in connection to the Oriental philosophy, the middle pillar, the middle path, the path to the way. And when I mean the path of the way, I'm talking about what Henry Corbin talks about in the book The Man of Light in Iranian Sufism, the intelligence that guides you on the path to knowing who. There's a phrase in ancient Sufism: he who knows himself knows his Lord. All right? And then there's a phrase, an ancient axiom: know thyself. Ancient Kemetic, ancient Egyptian axiom: know thyself. And, you know, that goes on and on and on. So, the tree of life is in reference to the Kabbalah tree, the trunk of the tree representing the middle pillar, but the trunk of the tree also being, you know, vibrationally separated, all right, into 3 pillars, okay? These represent the Kundalini energy, all right? A lot of that is in the Hindu philosophy, okay? The 3 channels, the 3 primary nadis known as Ida, Pingala, and then the middle one, Sushumna, all right? This relates to your spinal column, your spinal cord. That plugs into, think about what I call it, a cord. You know, you plug the cord into the wall. The spinal column plugs into the base of the workings of the dome piece, the kingdom, right? The king's dome. The king's dome. The king is in reference to the symbology of the pineal gland. All right? It goes on and on and on and on. So understand that that also ties into the Hermetic philosophy. See, that's what the Kabbalah actually is anyway, Hermetic philosophy. But what I'm trying to get you to understand is that this Hermetic philosophy, this Kabbalah system, is in relation to the Oriental philosophy, okay? And all of this tied in together can take you back way into ancient Kemet, excuse me, unless you believe that the hieroglyphics or the mental network were not translated and things like that, and the book of Coming Forth by Day, known as the Book of the Dead, is just a waste of time to read or something like that, then you know where I'm coming from. The ancient Kamites, the ancient Egyptians, who got all this stuff from their ancient ancestors, had this spiritual system, at this eschatology, derived from the ancient astronomy and astrological conditions and perceptions of the ancient priests of Inner Africa. You know what I mean? Of Inner Africa. So all this is tying into that. You see? All this is tying into that. The pole and the path. Because the pole, right, and it is the path. The top of the pole is where the polar god sits, all right? Also, they get the word, as in metropolis, they get the word polis from pole, okay? And each city had a center. That center had a pole that stood up and represented the center of that area. So, in the Hebrew understanding of what they got as external religion, their God is Yahweh, who basically sits on top of all of it, of everything. His energy, unbeknownst to a lot of the Hebrews, is the Shekinah energy, which is the Kundalini, all right? And Yahweh, or the Hebrew God, is the God of the tent of the Zodiac. You see what I mean? Which this, if you read the Hebrew lexicon book, it shows you, it breaks down the letters, and it breaks down what the letters represent. Kind of a representation of the creation process, but at the same time breaking down how the family tree works and stuff, right? And so there's a connection right there with that. Okay, don't have too much time left on that. So understand that the Hebrew Israelites, Israel and all that can be in relation to the zodiac sign and the sun and the moon as well as the 12 apostles and Jesus and Jacob and all that stuff. All astrological, and then trickling down to the eschatological or soul philosophy, if you can get that, right? Still in connection to the Henry Corbin and the Hermetic philosophy and the Oriental system and all this stuff. It's all connecting, right? And then all this connects. There's many books on this stuff. We can go. That's a whole nother video, right? All this stuff connects to the microcosm of the human being, which is you, and this reference to the spinal column and the energies of that, which is the. See, all of the subtle, spiritual, soulific philosophies of these things that I'm telling you about and how they trigger down into exoteric religion all relate to the microcosm's energies, which represent you on the earth as the soul in human form, and the spinal column, which can be synonymous with the rod that is in the hand of the goddess Artemis. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's a whole nother talk. All right. So the spinal column gives off the energy, or has the energy of all of this stuff, right? And it goes into the etheric realm. You have fire, air, earth, and water, and then you have the etheric realm. All right. Get you a deck of tarot cards and break down what I just said. You know, the ace, the wands, the cups, the discs. You know what I mean? The you know what I'm talking about. It all represents spirit, air, earth, fire, and water, or ether, or aether, and then ether. You know what I'm saying? And then fire, air, earth, and water. Right. This all is in relation to your physical nervous system, all right, and endocrine glands, and that is in reference to your etheric nervous system, which they don't want you to believe exists. This is basically your subtle body that you are continuously building, just like your physical body builds itself continuously every day, and you shut off dead skin. You have a subtle body within you that does the same thing, but the subtle body is almost you can say otherworldly. You know what I mean? Because see, when you become aware of it and try to work it, which, because it is you become basically the extraterrestrial that they are here talking about. That's a whole other talk as well. But the etheric and physical central nervous system, endocrine glands, and the likes, and the ganglia are in reference to the subtle body and its 7 primary centers known as wills, or in Hindu or Sanskrit called chakras. You know, chakras, that's the big craze that everybody, you know, got into, and, you know, doing yoga and all this type of stuff around the 2012 season, and which we still in that right now. But I'm just saying, you know, most people know about the chakras that do yoga and things like that. But it's a lot of shit. I mean, like, it's a lot of shit that goes into this. You know what I mean? It's about gaining wisdom, and it don't just come from books. Because what it is that you'll get a book and you'll read a book, and the book is basically telling you what you feel like you already know. And that is the gaining of the knowledge of self and receiving these aha moments, these epiphanies, you know, where you just looking like, and what are you even looking at? You know what I mean? You're just looking like, oh man, wow, I get it now. You know what I mean? These are like these epiphanies, man. And you get visions with these too. This is real shit. All happening within your inner world, your inner reality, you see. So it is very essential that you understand what the Kundalini is in relation to the 7 chakras, all right, and tie that into the Kabbalah system, and then go and tie that into studying Hermetic philosophy, all right. There's a book called The Hermetic Code in DNA. Get that book. I can't think about the author of it, but it's so many books. There's a book called Kundalini and the Chakras, a basic book telling you about the chakra system. Check that out. See, this is in our relation. And that pole that I was telling you, right? The pole, right? The polar, right? Is that, right? And that's where the God's seat is. That's where the crown, the throne is. You see what I'm saying? The crown is in reference to the throne. So knowing this, know this. The Kabbalah system is a very mystical system that deals with the subtle body of man and its energies, and the elite who run the world, this new world order, know this, so they utilize the shit to control you. You think that they can put you in concentration camps and all these types of things like that. They can build them all day. They can build You know, they can spray you with chemtrails, do that shit all day. Now, the chemtrails is a whole different thing. But physically putting you in the concentration camps, you know, putting you in these camps and you knowingly knowing that, that's just a fear tactic that they use to prepare you for shit. You know what I mean? So it'll be on TV, it'll be on YouTube, you know, they can put you in kind. They was going to do that shit in 2010, you know what I mean? 2011, they didn't, you know what I mean? So, you know, you could study that dude always. I was on that level too, you know what I mean? But and I'm not saying that they're not going to do whatever, you know. All I'm saying is that you know, the elite do many things to scare you. They do these false flag shits, and they see what they do is they have these practice runs of terrorist attacks or school shootings and things like that to help you or to help the people that's involved, right? Well, they also have crisis exercises where they have people that are called crisis actors that create scenarios such as school shootings and the likes, and they prepare. They do this for some type of purpose, for study and research, I guess, you know. Well, they actually film those things, and then they utilize it as news footage, and they do their little editing and all this type of shit. Next thing you know, you have somebody getting ran over in Charlottesville doing that little racist rant. You know what I mean? You got, that's just an example. I'm not saying, and I'm not saying that it wasn't real. All I'm saying is that they create things like that. You know what I mean? Did you know that when they want to have protests and shit for certain things, people will sponsor a group, and they will pay these protesters to travel from state to state, city to city, state to state, protesting about the same damn thing, you know, wearing masks and shit. And it's all for the media. It's all play. I'm getting off subject, but I'm just telling you that the elite utilizes the media, right? The media is in relation to moon energy, just like money is, and currency is, the waters and things like that, right? So they know that this shit is the closest thing to invisible vibration, you know, water. You know what I'm saying? And water being in relation to the moon and the pullings of the earth and the winds and things like that. The wind is very important. The wind is probably more important than the moon. You see what I'm saying? But that's a whole nother subject. You know what I mean? The Kabbalah trickery is in the movies, the music, the likes of that nature. It gets into your system, your endocrine system, your physical system, your nervous system. It fucks you up. Next thing you know, you're thinking all fucked up. Now it's in your etheric body, your etheric double, and you ain't got to do shit. You can have these fucked up thoughts, and these thoughts are out there working for you, doing fucked up shit. So it's all about, you know, this mystical energy that can be utilized for good or bad. That is the force that's going on. That's the force in Star Wars. You know what I mean? That's what's going on right now. And Star Wars is basically plainly telling you the situation. But anyway, this all relates to your fate and your destiny. And this fate and this destiny shit is in relation to astrology. Okay? Now, astrology is in relation to the planets. And like I was telling you, the planets are what, like in reference to the moon, Yesud of the Kabbalah, they pull on your strings, right? Okay, you have 7 strings, 7 vibratory aspects of your subtle body known as the chakra systems, and they have different colors. All right, they have the colors of the rainbow, to be honest, and you know, these planets, which have the colors as well, pull on you. And these are called emotions. That's why music and emotions is so heavy as well. All right, well, the planets are utilized by the elite or whoever, because they know about the energies and shit, to control you and your destiny and your fate. All right, so they don't care if you know about astrology or whatever, because they take it as you saying, okay, astrology, I'm an Aries, my planet is Mars. Yes, Mars, they get furious, they have fire heads, they you know, this and that. All right, and then you're walking around angry and all this type of stuff, and but you awaken, so you know you angry, right? So instead of being angry, which is something else, don't become the anger. Observe what this anger shit is in the first place, and by that way, by conquering these things and exercising that conquership, you claim the reins to your chariot, and you start you know, etherically and mentally controlling these powers that's been. So the zodiac, which is the zoomorphic jump, is utilized to control the zoo. You know what I mean? The animal energy of your 4 lower levels of yourself, which represents your lower personality traits. Okay? The zoo, or the zoomorphic energies, or the planets, the celestial background of these planets, like I said, Mars to Aries, Mercury to Virgo, which, and if that's true, if Mercury is to Virgo, then Mercury is the Archangel Gabriel, and Virgo is, you can guess it, Mary. You see what I'm saying? Mary is told by Gabriel, you're going to have the son of, you know, the son of God, whatever, you know. So, what was I saying? All right, the conjunctions, the motions of the planets are the emotions of the human being, right? It's like a seal placed on you, and then, you know, boom. But you're not supposed, like when you say you're a Virgo and you're this and you're that, that does not supposed to mean that you go by that, right? Because that's the trap right there, is it not? No, you came into this this gate. You see, think about the flat Earth thing, and then think about the Zodiac Belt, right? The Zodiac Belt is the wall. You know what I mean? It's like the limit of conscious ascension that they want you to have. They don't want you to go past the celestial belt. Think of the celestial belt as actually the universe, you know, pertaining to the earth. You know what I mean? And you can, if you want to include Andromeda and the likes, although the reason that I believe, and this is dealing with whatever they've done in the past, these elite mystical motherfuckers, they this celestial belt has been created, and it's a mental construct to basically, it's like the physical Garden of Eden, and then there's a celestial Garden of Eden. But we fell into the physical Garden of Eden, which represents the controlling of the planets and the zodiacs, and the pooling of your emotions and your desires, and pulling you this way and that way, and then bringing you here back again and back again and back again on that wheel of samsara, that wheel of dharma, that karma, that fate, that destiny, if you allow it. And the thing that's going on today, post 2012, is that we have the ability to escape it. For some reason, it seems like there needs to be, I don't know if the true word is, if the word would be belief, but there needs to be a feeling of something more than this life within the hearts of men and women and children of this reality, so we can get the hell up out of it. You see? That's like the conquering of death energy. You see? A lot of people still believe when you die, you die. It's not true. We don't die. All right? A lot of people still believe the earth is a circle. Do I believe the earth is a circle? I'm going to tell you like this. I don't believe it's a circle, or else the water would fall off. I can't understand that. I understand why they call it an orb, because of the hemispheres. But it seems to me that there's hills and mountains and valleys and oceans and things like that. But it seems to me that the earth is a plane. All right? With its domes around it. You see what I'm saying? And I think that's the spiritual symbology of that, is us getting up out of the dome, escaping the dome. There was a show called, I think it still comes on, it's called Under the Dome. All right? The same guy that played in the show Breaking Bad. All right? Breaking through the dome. Like Homer Simpson when they had that little dome movie shit. You see, I'm telling you, it's some different things going on. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's what this introduction to the book, The Virgin of the World, is talking about. Okay? That's what it's talking about. So I'm going to do one more part, hopefully do one more part, and go through some parts of it with you, and, you know, If not, we'll come back and just do a whole nother video on the intro to the Virgin of the World. I have not even read the whole book yet. All right, peace. All right, y'all, this should be the last part or the last two parts. I don't know, because I want to break this shit down. This shit is really real, you know what I'm saying? It's like very symbolic. We have to go back to mythology. You have to study mythology, man. Mythology is the key. Mythology is the key to understanding this stuff. I'm telling you. It's like, you know, they take mythology as that fantasy shit, you see? And that's the thing, you know. See, mythology and imagination have something going on together. Something going on, because it's almost like the ancients knew that utilizing this mythology stuff, this system of taking symbols of nature and of primordial existence and possibly pre-existence and putting into mythological symbology and mythological stories to put it into you in a subliminal way or a subtle way, and utilize that perception, right? That inner perception, and your imagination begins, and they're giving you the mythology that represents your own self and your own soul and the workings of the energies within your own self, as broken down as different characters of that mythological story, right? So let me begin. This is the Version of the World intro, okay? The mystic title of the celebrated Hermetic fragment with which this volume commences, Kore Cosma, that is, the cosmic virgin, is in itself a revelation of the wonderful identity subsisting between the ancient wisdom religion of the old world and the creed of Catholic Christendom. Kore, or Kor, is the name by which in the Eleusinian mysteries, Persephone, the daughter or maiden, was saluted. Now, this is the same statue, according to my knowledge so far, that sits on top of the White House. As you see, I noted it. Persephone sits on top of the White House, right? Which is a dome. Please understand what listen, I'm gonna have to do something else, because what I just said will send you somewhere else. Persephone, or Persephone, or Persephone, sits on top of the dome of Washington, D.C., the capital of Washington, D.C., right? And we all know that the dome is in reference to not only the breasts, but in the Metu Neter, a rising loaf of bread as well, right? The loaf of bread had reference to grain, and the grain was the symbology of the soul, which was personified by Osiris, or Asar in ancient Kemet, right? His resurrection was the food, was that grain that grew that they would make the bread with, right? It's very, very amazing symbolical stuff, man. It's very, very awakening stuff. But I made a note of that because that blew me away right there. You know what I mean? So, of course, we know that Horus is the son of Isis and post-mortem Osiris, right? The Greek, so the Greek word for the pupil or apple of the eye, right, was known as Persephone. Basically, it is also perhaps only by coincidence the Greek word for the pupil or apple of the eye, okay? That's the word cord, all right? Which is the blackest part of, like, everybody. You know what I mean? When, however, we find Isis, the moon goddess, and Enetrix in her discourse with Horus, mystically identifying the eye with the soul, and comparing the tunics of the physical organ of vision with the envelopes of the soul. The envelopes of the soul represents the chakras as well, and the 5 sheaths, all right? When, moreover, we reflect that precisely as the eye, by means of its pupil, is the enlightener and percipient of the body, so is the soul the illuminating and seeing principle of man. We can hardly regard this analogy of names as wholly unintentional and uninstructive. For Kore, or Persephone, the maiden, is the personified soul, whose apostasy or descent from the heavenly sphere into earthly generation is the theme of the following Hermetic parable. All right. Let me see here. Okay, y'all. I got interrupted like real heavy, real bad. So, it's just crazy. Just crazy. I didn't want to read that last line talking about the Greek part, because that's basically how I noted it. That's how I put it in my notes. So I wanted to end it at that sentence where it was about to break down this Hermetic parable that's dealing with Kore or Persephone, the maiden, as the personified soul whose descent into the earthly generation is the theme of this following Hermetic parable. Okay. So the cosmic virgin, of course, we now, according to the authors, in personification of the soul. Okay, for the soul has two modes or conditions of being, centrifugal and centripetal. It's very amazing that the word center or centra is in there as well, and dealing with the pole. The first is the condition of her outgoing, her emergence in matter, or her fall, and the grief and subjection which she thereby brings upon herself. This phase is, in the Jewish Kabbalah, representative by Eve. The second condition is that of her incoming, her emergence from matter, her restitution or glorification in heaven. Quote, this phase is presented to us in the Christian Evangel and Apocalypse under the name of Mary. Hence the Catholic saying that the Ave or Av of Mary reverses the curse of Eva. In perfect accord with Kabbalistic doctrine, the allegory of the Kore Cosma thus clearly indicates the nature of the soul's original apostasy. I have that as well. I have that, and I have read it, the Kore Cosma. It's very short. She receded from the prescribed limits, not willing to remain in the same abode, which I read somewhere in a different book, not by the author, but I connected my references. It represents the realm of higher or heightened intelligence or intellect. Okay. She moved ceaselessly, and repose seemed death. Okay. In this phase, we have the parallel to the scene represented in the mysteries, where Persephone, willfully straying from the mansion of heaven, falls under the power of the Hadean god. All right. If you don't know, that's Hades. Okay. This, perhaps the most occult part of the whole allegory, is but lightly touched in the fragmentary discourse of Isis, and we cannot, therefore, do better than to reproduce here the eloquent exposition of Thomas Taylor on the subject. He says, here then, he says, we see the first cause of the soul's descent, namely the abandoning of a life wholly according to the higher intellect. Okay, same book. I'm tripping. Same book, because that's what I was just talking about, the higher intellect, which is occultly signified by the separation of Proserpina from Ceres. Afterward, we are told that Jupiter instructs Venus to go to her abode, all right, and betray Proserpina from her retirement, that Pluto may be enabled to carry her away, and to, now remember, Pluto represents death, and to prevent any suspicion in the virgin's mind, he commands Diana and Pallas. Pallas is another word for pole, okay, and Diana is going to be in representation to another aspect of the Shekinah, okay, so we have Shiva and Shakti, to go in company. The three goddesses arriving find Proserpina at work on a scarf of for her mother, in which she had embroidered the primitive chaos and the formation of the world. Now, by Venus in this part of the narration, we must understand desire, okay, which this is Netzek on the tree, on the Kabbalah tree, which even in the celestial regions, for such as the residence of Proserpina, till she is ravished by Pluto, begins silently and stealthily to creep into the recess of the soul. By Minerva, we must conceive the rational power of the soul, and by Diana, nature. And lastly, the web in which Proserpina had displayed all the fair variety of the material world, beautifully represents the commencement of the elusive operations through which the soul becomes ensnared with fascination of imaginative forms. Imaginative forms. These imaginative forms is in reference to this reality. All right. So basically, the Matrix, or basically Maya. All right, Maya. Okay. So where are we at? Okay. After this, Proserpina, forgetful of the mother's commands, is represented as venturing from her retreat through the treacherous persuasions of Venus. Venus is desire. Okay. Then we behold her issuing onto the plain with Minerva and Diana, and attended by a beauticious train of nymphs who are evident symbols of the world of generation and are therefore the proper companions of the soul about to fall into its fluctuating realms. Moreover, the design of Proserpina in venturing from her retreat is beautifully significant of her approaching descent. Okay, so her retreat is her descent, for she rambles from home for the purpose of gathering flowers, and this in a lawn replete with the most enchanting variety and excelling the most delicious odors. Flowers is also in reference to incarnations, all right? Incarnations, as in incarnation, reincarnation. This is a manifest image of the soul operating principally according to the natural and external life, all right? And so becoming ensnared by the delusive attractions of sensible form, okay? Sensible form. The sensible form is the imaginable forms that the soul is ensnared in, okay? To us, or to us as ego, as human ego, lower personalities, it's the real world. Think about that, man. You know what I mean? Immediately, Pluto, forcing his passage through the earth, seizes on Proserpina and carries her away with him. Well may the soul, in such a situation, pathetically exclaim with Proserpina, "Oh, mel delecti flores, the spectacus." I don't know what that says anyway. So, where we at? Okay. Pluto hurries Proserpina into the infernal regions. In other words, the soul is sunk into the profound depth and darkness of a material nature. All right. A description of her marriage next succeeds, her union with the dark tenement of the body. All right. Or the Persephone marrying Hades. To this eloquent exposition of Taylor's it is well to add the description given in Homer's hymn to Cetus. Persephone herself speaks. Okay. We were plucking the pleasant flowers. Remember, this is Persephone is the representation of the cosmic virgin, the soul, falling or retreating and then falling into the material world. This is, you gotta, when you read this, okay, it's in the book, The Virgin of the World. You can download a free PDF and contemplate, meditate on this phrase, this whole section here. We were plucking the pleasant flowers, the beautiful crocus, the iris, the hyacinth, and the narcissus, which, like the croesus, the wide earth produced. With joy I was plucking them, when the earth, it almost sounds like, fairies flying around. But anyway, with joy I was plucking them when the earth yawned beneath, and out of the earth leaped the strong king, the many receiver, and went bearing me, all right? Deeply, meaning taking her away, deeply sorrowing under the earth in his golden chariot, and I cried aloud. All right, compare this with the Hermetic allegory of the lapse of Persephone and the manner of it, the Kabbalistic story of the fall of Eve, okay? This can also represent the fact that Eve represents the fallen soul, right? Meaning that Adam, although he, I guess, had been animated, still had yet not even had a soul. And so Eve coming out of his rib represents a soul. I mean, we can do more studies on that. So we're dealing with the soul of man, woman, man, human being, all right? Man and woman, or Adam and Eve is just like Shiva and Shakti, Izanagi, Izanami, you know what I mean, of the Chinese. So we're going to end this and then come back. Okay, we had just finished the Fall of Eve section here. All right, this is the Virgin of the World book. All right, and she saw that the tree was good to eat. All right, now what he's saying is this: compare with this the Hermetic allegory of the lapse of Persephone and the manner of it. All right, with the Kabbalistic story of the fall of Eve. What he's saying is that the book of Genesis, the Holy Bible, authorized by King James the First, all right, who had many workers, one of them being Francis Bacon. I think the other man's name was Wayman or Tinsdale or Tinsel, or I forgot. Anyway, the Genesis is a Kabbalistic script. All right, and it is, all right. The Pentateuch is a Kabbalistic script, all right. And she saw, talking about Eve, all right. Eve did eat the fruit. We know this, okay. And to the woman he said, I will multiply thy sorrows and thy conceptions. In thy conceptions, I will multiply thy sorrows and thy conceptions. In sorrow shalt thou bring forth children, okay, and thou shalt be under thy husband's power, and he shall have dominion over thee. This is very amazing. In a note appended to Taylor's dissertations, Dr. Wilder quotes from Cocker's Greek philosophy the following excellent reflections. The allegory of the chariot and winged steeds in Plato's Phaedrus represents the lower or inferior part of man's nature, okay? Think about that. Think about what I said about the lower personality, the four parts of it, okay? And that's going to be fire, air, earth, and water. Now, the God of that is the Hebrew Yahweh. Ayot He Vot He. In the Kabbalah, it is magically manipulated as separating the four into four parts, the obelisk or the tekanu. All right, and this is also dealing with the four worlds of the Kabbalah: Atziluth, Bria, Yetzirah, Asiya. All right. So, continuing on, Adam or the body. See, this is what he's telling you. He's telling you that. So when the Moors tell you that the Adam of the Genesis was some other man other than the black man came before that, blase blase, and that the word Adam dealing with the Strong's concordance is dealing with the red earth, right? That is symbolic. You see, it's symbolic. Symbolic as clay, as forming clay. So when we go back to ancient Kemet, it is Khnum, who is forming man and his double, right? His ka out on a clay, like a clay wheel, basically, like a vase. You know what I mean? A vase, and he's forming the bodies of the human beings. All right, he's the creator of the human being, the human body. All right. Now the creator of what the human sees, that's the matrix. All right. So Adam, the body, dragging the soul down to the earth and subjecting it to the slavery of corporal conditions. Out of these conditions arise numerous evils that disorder the mind and becloud the reason. For evil is inherent to the condition of finite and multiform existence into which we have fallen. The earthly life is a fall, all right? That's what he's telling you. The earthly life is a fall. Never let somebody tell you that the Lucifer thing and all this and da-da-da-da. No. If you are alive and you are on earth, you are like a fallen spark of a flame, all right? You are the fallen Persephone, okay? You sit on top of the dome of the capital of Washington, D.C. in the form of a Greco-looking white woman with a hat, okay? It's symbolic of your soul. So, and she's married to Hades, which is hell, and hell is on earth. Do you understand? Hell on earth, who's next? We're going to be first. Da-da-da-da-da. So, out of these conditions are, okay, we read that part. The soul is now dwelling in the grave, all right? which we call the body. Okay, so this is Osiris in his sepulcher. Okay, we resemble those captives chained in a subterraneous cave, so poetically described in the 7th book of the Republic. Remember Star Wars when we talk about the Republic, but anyway, the Republic, their backs turned to the light, so that they see but the shadows of the objects which pass behind them, and to these shadows they attribute a perfect reality. Their sojourn upon earth is thus a dark imprisonment in the body, a dreamy exile from their proper home. Okay. Similarly, we read in the Choric Cosmo that the souls, on learning that they were about to be imprisoned in material bodies, real quick, came to my mind real quick. There's a story called the Simurgh and the Simurgh birds. All right, this is in a book called it's dealing with Henry Corbin works, and it's dealing with Ibn Arabi and Sohrabadi and the Avicenna and the Visionary Recital. That's the book that it's in, Avicenna and the Visionary Recital. It's talking about the Simurgh bird and the travel of these Simurgh birds in the soul realm. You know what I mean? Going to see this Simurgh bird. Only a few remain at the end of the journey, and they realize that the Simurgh bird is themselves, or the Simurgh is themselves. Simurgh, I think, meant 30 birds. But there was a god or a king or the god of these Simurghs called Simurgh. It's just amazing. I mean, you got to read the book Avicenna and the Visionary Recital. Anyway, all right. So the souls, okay. Learning that they were about to be imprisoned in material bodies, sighed and lamented, lifting to heaven glances of sorrow and crying piteously. Oh, woe and heart-rending grief to quiet these vast splendors, this sacred sphere, and all the glories of the blessed republic of the gods to be precipitated into these vile and miserable bodies. No longer shall we behold the divine and luminous heavens. Who, in reading this, is not reminded of the pathetic lament of Eve on quitting the fair ambrosial bowers of paradise? From the sad and woeful state into which the Virgin thus falls, she is finally rescued and restored to the supernal abodes, but not until the coming of the Savior, represented in the allegory before us under the name of Osiris, the man regenerate. This Redeemer, himself of divine origin, is in other allegories represented under other names. All right, but the idea is always luminously defined and the intention obvious. Osiris is the Iosus of our Christian doctrine, the supreme initiate or captain of salvation. All right. He is represented together with his spouse, as in all things, instructed and directed by Hermes, famed as the celestial conductor of souls from the dark abodes. Okay. Now, believe it or not, this phrase dark abode can also be in reference to dark bodies. This does not in any way represent the black man, the black body. All right? It does represent melanin as well. It represents the aspect of the soul and its death of ignorance, which is the material world. Okay? It just so happens that in the human body, and hue is a reference to shade, but I'm not saying that the word human means that, but there is a word for hue that represents the shade of man. So, don't get caught up in anybody's dogma. Don't follow anybody. All right? The wise and ubiquitous God, in whom the initiate recognizes the genius of the understanding or divine reason, the nous of Platonic doctrine, and the mystic spirit of Christ. All right? This is the cosmic consciousness. Therefore, as the understanding of the holy things and the faculty of their interpretation are the gift of Hermes, the name of this God is given to all science and revelation of an occult and divine nature. A divine is, in fact, one who knows the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. Hence, St. John, the seer or the divine, is especially the beloved of Christ. Hermes was regarded as the messenger or angel of the gods. He represents Mercury. Mercury is the closest to the sun in the planetary aspect. Right, but that's exoteric. This is esoteric. All right, Hermes, descending alike to the depths of the Hadean world to bring up souls from thence, and ascending up beyond all heavens, that he might fill all things. For the understanding must search alike the depths and the heights. All right, There can be nothing hidden from it, nor can it attain the fullness of supernal and secret knowledge unless it first explore the phenomenal and terrestrial. All right. For that he ascended what is it, but because he also lower parts of he descended into the lower parts of the earth. So what this is basically saying is that you, as the soul, which your kingdom is a realm of higher intellect, higher wisdom and stuff. It's all symbolic now, and that you descended into this material body as that intellect itself. Like, you know what I mean? You in the lower aspect of the material existence, only operating off the five senses, 3D reality and things like that, until you become aware of your own inner spirit of the Christos, which is a seed that basically is born within you. All right. Excuse me. So he basically is saying that for that he ascended what is it, but because he also descended first into the lower parts of the earth. With the splendid joyousness and light-hearted humor which characterized the Greeks, the Greeks were children of the ancient Kemites. The ancient Kemites were descendants of ancient inner African people who looked like African Americans and Africans around the world. Mingling laughter and mirth, even with the mysteries of religion, and making their sacred allegories, human and musical as no others of, no others of any nation or time. Hermes, the diviner and revealer, has also playful styled a thief and the patron of thieves. Now, see, the thing is this: the elite utilizes that power, that thievery power. Okay, if I may say so, because what they do, like I said, they can get to you with the music, with the media and things like that, hence the musical thing. And so with the hermetic situation, and that being encoded in your DNA, and that being the workings of initiation into higher intellect, higher understanding, higher wisdom, they use that to keep you in the descendant phase, okay? A descendant phase to keep you down into the lower nature of your personality. And that's what's going on with the rap and hip-hop today, and a couple of other aspects of music, but a lot of it is for some reason in the black community's music, and it's either in the rap and hip hop, or it's in the R&B, as this drama, continuous drama, going on, and this is the only music that makes the mainstream when it's coming out of the blacks. You know, it's the drama shit and the entertainment. It's just crazy, man. That's a whole nother story. You know what I mean? But if I can continue this real quick. But thereby was secretly indicated the power and skill of the understanding and making everything intellectually its own. Wherefore, in charging Hermes with filching the girdles of Venus, the tongues of Vulcan, and the thunder of Jove, as well as with stilling and driving off the cattle of Apollo, it was signified that all good and noble gifts, even the attributes of the high gods themselves, are accessible to the understanding, and that nothing is withheld from man's intelligence, if only man have to skill to seek aright. So Hermes represents your understanding. You know what I mean? Like, it's like me delving into the shit that the elite don't want me to delve into. So I'm taking it, I'm stealing it, I'm giving it. I'm like Robin Hood. You know what I mean? And so that's the good side, dealing with that. You see, as the immediate companion of the sun, Hermes is the opener of the gates of the highest heaven, the revealer of spiritual light and life, the mediator between the inner and outer spheres of existence, the mediator between the inner and outer spheres of existence, and the initiator into those sacred mysteries, the knowledge of which is life eternal. Remember, I told you how the gates of the zodiac, or the zodiac represents the gates, like the wall of the Antarctic. You can't pass that shit. You know what I mean? On the earth plane, on the astrological plane, you can't go past the zodiacal belt. You know what I mean? Especially without higher understanding and intellect and wisdom, which is represented by Hermes, which is in connection to the soul, not the human body, but the soul. It's very, very, very deep. How much time I got left in this one? Not that much. Let me see. basically, hopefully you can see where I'm getting at, you know what I'm saying? I keep getting interrupted, but anyway, you can see where I'm trying to get at to a certain extent. This is only the beginning, y'all. You see? This is only the beginning. Hermes is symbolic of the mediator. He is, so understand that and Hermes, man, you know, this is a very, very beautiful connection, man, you know what I mean? It's like when they say that the Archangel Gabriel goes to Mary to say you're going to have a Christ. That's the same thing as you feeling that there is some type of awakening within yourself, and that there's a new birthing within yourself, and you also get to know yourself, know self, knowledge yourself, and all these things. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Joseph has a part in this as well. You know what I mean? That's another story, though. You know, but it's just crazy. But anyway, real quick, we're going to continue real quick. Hopefully, the panoply with which Greek arts invest Hermes is symbolical of the functions of the understanding. He has 4 implements: the rod, the wings, the sword, and the cap. All right, 11:11, 11:11. Denoting respectfully the science of the Magian, the science of the Magian or the Magian, the courage of the adventurer, the will of the hero, and the discretion or discretion of the adept. The initiates of Hermes acknowledges no authority but the understanding. They call no man king or master upon earth. They are true free thinkers and republicans. For where the spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. That's a quote. Hence, Lactantius, in his divine institution, says, Hermes affirms that those who know God are safe from the attacks of the demon, and that they are not even subjected to fate. All right. Now, the powers of fate reside in the stars. Okay. That is, in the astral sphere, whether cosmic or microcosmic. So understand that as soon as you're born, as soon as you come into the gates of fate, all right, if you hadn't been in it before and you're just being recycled, reincarnated, you are stamped, as just like they stamp your feet on your birth certificate. You are stamped with the astrological chart, all right, and that astrological chart is supposed to represent, no matter what, your destiny, your fate on this planet, no matter what, no matter what, no matter how good you are in your heart, no matter, you know. And the problem is that the secret is that apparently one of the secrets is that can be manipulated, and that's in reference into people who have been recorded to live more than 200 years old, 300 years old, things like that. So that's a whole other thing too, but that is in certain Hilton Hotima works. All right, you can download his books as well, PDF. All right. And the astral power was, in Greek fable, typified by Argos, the 100-eyed genius of the starry zone, Panoptis. All right. Pan is also in relation to the god of the pole, you know what I'm saying, the star god, ancient Sabian worship, ancient Sabian spiritual system and spirituality, really relating to the astrology and eschatology. The all-seeing giant, whom it was the glory of Hermes to have outwitted and slain. Of which allegory the meaning is that they who have the hermetic secret are not subject to fate, but have passed beyond the thrall of metempsychosis and have freed themselves from ceaseless whirling on the wheel of destiny. To know God is to have overcome death and the power of death, all right? And that is basically known as victory, okay? To know the origin and secret of delusion is to transcend delusion, all right? It has a quote down here that was great. Follow no man, said John Inglesant's advisor. There is nothing in the world of any value but the divine light. Follow it. All right? Follow it. Follow the divine light. And I would end it on that, but there's a little bit more that I wanted to read. Or was it? Basically, I do want to end it on that. But just a real quick reading. Let's see. The spheres of delusion, dominated by the sevenfold astral powers, i.e. the planets, lie between the soul and God. Beyond these spheres are the celestial 9 abodes, all right, wherein, say, the mysteries Demeter vainly sought the lost Persephone. For from these abodes she had lapsed into a mundane and material state, and thereby had fallen under the power of the planetary rulers. That is of faith, personified by Hecate. All right. So there's something that is being told in this information. I'm going to end it right there, and I'll come back. Remember, we're dealing with high, not